Hey Bagmakers, are you ready for a new project? So today we're making the Toteally Tidy bag, a tote bag of course, as you can hear from the name. It features a front pocket, and the really cool thing about it is that it will teach you how to make the hidden D-ring attachments on the sides. Before we start, of course, you need to see all the details on how this bag is done. So I will show you everything before we start. So this is the front. You can see it has a 3D front pocket with a flap, which will be closed by two magnetic snaps. On the sides, you have a side pocket on each side, which also has a flap and the darts same as the front pocket. Then this is the special thing. This is like a hidden D-ring attachment, and when you look at the back, you have a slip pocket as well as a zipper pocket on the back of the tote bag. It fits quite a lot. So when it comes to the interior, we have a slip pocket which should be divided, I think, which is better. In this version I didn't, and but that's totally up to you. This is your bag. You can make this however you like. So we will make a strap, of course, so you can wear it as a crossbody or a more comfortable shoulder bag. And the top has a main closure as a zipper as well. So what do you think? Are you up for the challenge? You know my parents, therefore advanced bag makers, but this one is not as hard as you may think. So let's start with preparing our fabrics and our pattern. The first thing you'll do is print the fabric. No, not the fabric, Sarah. You will print the pattern pieces, of course. Here I show you how I did this with the Everleah bag. So it's important that you download the files and open them in Adobe Reader. Then choose the right format if you have DIN A4 or US letter, and scale it to 100% or actual size. So when you print out the pattern pieces, check the control square on the paper if the measurements are correct. So I've used some faux leather for the flap and the bottom. For lining fabric, I've used a regular quilting cotton, a lightweight cotton fabric. And my main fabric is an outdoor fabric. It's kind of like a waterproof canvas. When it comes to interfacing, I know everybody has their own favorite types of interfacings. This is just what I've used. I've used Deco Light for the exterior. I've used the Fleece-Lina G700 for the lining, and I've also used some H250, which is like Decor Bond 809. I know some of you don't really like this, but it's like a lightweight but still stiff. So choose whatever you like. When it comes to hardware, I suggest you to print out the material list as well, so you have everything at hand. We need zipper pulls, we need magnets, we need a zipper end, we also need some hardware for the strap and some rivets. Of course, you can skip the rivets as well and just top stitch if you like, but the rivets give it like a really nice look. When it comes to the F piece, consider on how to attach it, because it will be upside down if you attach it the wrong way. And here you can see the pieces I've used with the H250 or the Decor Bond interfacing, because I want it to be lightweight and not too heavy with the Deco fill, and it still be like stiff, papery kind of feeling. So if you attach the F piece, like I said, make sure it's not upside down, but we get to this later as well. The G piece is the zipper pocket on the back, and you see the dotted lines will guide you on how to cut out your Deco Light piece. If you want to make sure that this is the right size, you could also make a marking on the back of the wrong side of your fabrics, being 2.5 centimeters, which is 1 inch from the top edge. So this will be the gap that we will need later to attach our zipper. See, these two pieces have darts markings on the pattern piece, and it's really important. Do not cut them out. These are markings. These will be drawn lines, and these will be the lines that you will sew. Okay, so I suggest you to take the pattern, the paper pattern piece, and cut out one dart, and then you can place it on the wrong side of your fabrics and draw the marking on the fabric piece on the wrong side of the main and the lining pieces. Like I said, some darts sometimes need to be cut out, but with my patterns I don't cut out the darts. I will make lines and they will be placed on top of each other and then sewn on the line. So do the same for the side pocket and use the dotted lines as well to prepare your deco-fill-light pieces, so that you don't have to sew through deco-fill-light, which will be harder to do. It's a lot easier if they don't have interfacing where the darts are located. So I think we should start with actually sewing. What do you think? First, we will make the sides of the bag. So you will need the side pockets and flaps and the side pieces and everything for the hidden D-ring attachment. You will need two D-rings as well and magnetic snaps for the flap. So we will attach the magnetic snaps. Therefore, simply poke a hole through the pattern piece, the paper piece. Place this on the wrong side of your fabric. So when it comes to the L piece, it should be on the main fabric and not the lining. So make a marking on the wrong side of the main fabric L pieces and then install the female parts of the magnetic snap to the L pieces. This is the female part and I will install it, and later on I will fuse some spare deco-fill-light scraps on top of the back of the magnetic snap to protect the fabrics, the lining fabrics, from the prongs, from the metal prongs, but I will do that later when I've installed all 4 pieces. So it's 2 sets. When it comes to the flap, put the main fabrics aside and install the male part of the magnetic snap to the lining pieces from the K flap piece. Here for my lining is just fused or interfaced with the G700, so I will fuse some deco-fill-light on the wrong side of my lining fabrics just to be more sturdy for the magnetic snap attachment. It's not a must, it's just how I do it and how I like it. So now I will install the male parts to the flaps. See, I will take some deco-fill-light pieces and fuse them over the wrong side of the snaps. Next up, we will sew the darts from the side pockets, lining and main. Therefore, place the line above each other. If you want to make sure if they're really above each other, take a pin and stick it through the line, and then you can see if you actually have them aligned on top of each other. So the fabric will be folded right sides together. the lines are aligned above each other and then sew along these lines. Next, you will take some small scissors and make a cut into the dart, the seam allowance from the dart, so you can fold them open later because it will be less bulky to attach them. Of course, you could also, instead of cutting them, you can lay them to one side and from the other fabric to the other side, but I prefer it like that. Maybe you like it like that as well. So to make the side pocket, place the main and lining on top of each other, right sides together, and sew the top edge with 1 centimeter seam allowance. Then you fold the fabrics wrong sides together and top stitch the top edge. To make the flap for the side pocket, place the main and the lining right sides together and sew this with 1 centimeter 3/8 inch seam allowance, but leave an opening in the top edge. Next, you will take some scissors and trim the corners on the top and the curvy section. Trim the seam allowance down a little bit and then turn the flap right side out. If you have fabrics that can be pressed, I really suggest you to give it a press afterwards. This is faux leather and the lining is from cotton, so I will press this from the cotton side and it's not a problem. Before, you can take some tools to form out the edges and curves and then fold the seam allowance inwards and give it a press and top stitch the flap. Now we will have to make some markings on the side pieces. Therefore, I like to take some masking tape, but of course you could also take some chalk or some fabric markers to draw a line there. I just like this type of masking tape. So the marking will be 16 centimeters from the bottom edge, which is 6 1/4 inches. Place the flap right sides together on top like this, centered, and then sew a small rectangle to attach the flap to the side piece. So the small rectangle means like you stitch down the line and then 1 stitch up and then you go back and then you have a small rectangle. I will show you how the finished look is. See? It's just not very wide. It's just 1 or 2 stitches up. And then you can remove the masking tape and attach the side pocket itself. So it's important that you will place the main and the lining fabrics wrong sides together and open up the darts that you've made before. And align it to the bottom edge from the side piece first and just baste the bottom piece, the bottom edge. So poke the darts inside, it's easier like that, and the distance from dart to dart is the same distance as the bottom edge from the side piece. So align this and baste it on. And now you will attach the sides from the side pocket to the side piece. Therefore, you will plop out the darts outwards again, so it's like correct, and then attach it and secure it with some clips. And before you baste them together, make sure the top edge is straight and that the flap, the magnetic snap, will close correctly. And then you can baste the sides on there as well. So the side is almost done now, but of course we have to do the hidden D-ring attachment. So are you excited to learn this, or have you done this many times before? For me, this was the first one, and I saw this and I really liked this and I wanted to try it. And yes, it's a really nice way to attach D-rings to your side pieces. First, make a marking 5 centimeters 2 inches from the top edge of the side pieces, and we will cut the centered 2.5 centimeters, which is 1 inch, Of course, you can adjust it to your personal preference if you have other width D-ring sizes, but in this case we will make 2.5 centimeter D-rings, so you can transfer the marking from the pattern pieces to mark the exact length, which should be centered. And now for the scary part. See, my marking was a bit wider, so I checked back because the cut should not be too wide. It should be exactly the same length as the piece, the fabric piece that we will stick in there. I think it's the J piece. So make sure you measure this correctly so you won't cut too far into the fabric. And this is the scary part. You take a rotary cutter and just cut through the main fabric just where the marked 2.5 or 1 inch marking is. Don't go too far. It's better to take some scissors to get as close to the marking as possible. So then you take the J piece, put this right sides together on the side piece and stick it through the slit that you've just made, and let it hang over or stick out on the wrong side for about 1 centimeter, 3/8 inch. It does not have to be exact, it should be just a little bit sticking out, and then you will sew this together. It's important that your stitches will stay on the top piece, do not go over the edges, just a tad away from the slit. Now we will take the S piece. You might wonder, why is there one piece and not two? We will cut this in half later on, okay? So you'll have to. So fold the raw edges towards the center and then top stitch the S piece like I show you right here. When that is done, fold it in half so you can cut it in 2 pieces, 2 equal pieces, 1 for each side. We just need 1 right now. So place it on the side piece as well, right sides together, but before that push the J piece through the slit. Now right sides together, but this time you will push this from the bottom towards the top, not the other way around like you did with the J piece, and let it stick out about 1 centimeter as well. And next you will top stitch, or you will sew this together like 1/8 inch, 2 millimeters from the slit through the fabrics, all fabrics right here. See, this is really close to the slit, and now you can put the D-ring on and stick the other end of the S piece through the slit as well. And now this is up to your personal preference, how tight you want your D-ring to sit on the side piece. So pull on it, maybe pull it out again a little bit, so adjust it however you like, okay? If you like the look, then baste all the pieces here together. I suggest a zigzag if you use cotton fabric or fraying fabric. So this is faux leather, so I just made a basting stitch, and then I will make a marking wherever I like, where it will go through all the pieces, and I punch a hole, and then I will insert a rivet. This time I've had these cute little hearts. These are not like a double cap rivet, these have screws, but I think it's so cute. What do you think? Do you like the heart-shaped screws? Is that the correct word in English? Yes, I had some issues finding the right screwdriver. But yes, I really like the final look. And now the side piece is done. Actually, you just have to make a second one exactly the same way, and then you're good to go to continue with the front. No, we will make the back first, I'm sorry. So these are the 2 side pieces, and then you set them aside, and let's move on to the back. These are the pieces that we will need to make the back. We need some zipper with zipper pull. We need webbing for the strap, and we will make both for front and back at the same time. So this is the reason why there are 2 webbings right here. You will need the back zipper pocket with the lining, the F and the G piece, and this is again the reason why you should take care that your fabric is not upside down if you use fabric with a design on it, which can be upside down. So first you take the panel from the back zipper pocket and put this right sides together on the G piece centered. So we have a gap here from the decoupage, and we will sew on top of this edge without sewing through the decoupage, sewing the two pieces together, right sides together, and then we will make two slits about a centimeter or a bit wider. It does not have to be exact, and cut as close to the corners as possible. And then you will fold your lining piece to the back and give it a press after you formed out and shaped the corners correctly, and then take care of the zipper. So we will need a zipper which is 22 centimeters long, 8 3/4 an inch, and we will thread a zipper pull to the zipper tape and then place it right side up on the fabrics, closing towards the left. Right side, both pieces are right side up, and then you sew the top edge and then fold the fabric away from the zipper, and the fabric now is wrong side up and the zipper is right side up, and you will place this underneath the G piece, aligning the panel and the lining fabrics on the sides, and then stitch where I show you right now to secure the piece to the G piece. So I like my zippers closing towards the right. If you like your zippers closing towards the left, you should just simply attach all the zippers the other way around, okay? So when that is done, you will place the second lining piece from the back zipper and baste it to the top edge of the zipper tape. Only to the top edge of the zipper tape, not over the sides, okay? Because you need to sew the sides together from the other side. So if you've basted it all the way, you'll have a problem, okay? Then trim off the extra fabric from the lower lining piece, and then sew the sides and the bottom edge with 1 centimeter seam allowance, 3/8 inch seam allowance. I've trimmed off some extra zipper tape because my zippers are usually a centimeter longer than they need to be, just to be safe. If you are worried that the bottom edge from the lining from the back zipper will get caught in the seam allowance later, just trim it slightly. Now the zipper pocket's almost done. We just need the F piece, so we place it right sides together on the top edge and sew this edge with 1 centimeter seam allowance, 3/8 inch. Then fold the F piece up and fold it and top stitch. Now you will fold the fabrics wrong sides together, aligned by the bottom edge. Fold the top edge and top stitch the top edge as well. Now we will place it on the back of the front and back A piece and align it by the sides and the bottom edge, and make sure the top edge is straight. And then you can baste it on first, or you can trim the corners first. It's easier to trim the corners first from the bottom edge, so therefore I will turn the piece around and trim off the corners and then baste the two pieces together. Next up, we will prepare our straps, and of course we just need one strap for the back and one for the front, but we will make both straps at the same time just to be sure that they're both exactly the same, and it's just more efficient to do them at the same time. Don't forget to mark all your top and bottom centers. It's easier for assembly later. you'll need 2 pieces of webbings, 70 centimeters long, 27.5 in inches, and then we will mark the center, and therefore the centered 32 centimeters, 12.5 inches will be sewn together. So make the markings like I show you here in the picture on both webbing pieces so they're exactly alike. Then fold the webbing, the center together and secure it with clips, and then top stitch or sew them together from marking to marking. So of course you need to do this for both of your straps. Now place them wrong side up in front of you. Turn it around, Sarah. Please turn it around. And yes, like that. And fold the bottom edges 3 centimeters, 1/4 inch to the wrong side of the webbing. And place them right next to each other so they are exactly alike. Then you can put one aside for the front and one will be installed or sewn onto the back. So therefore I take my masking tape again. I make a marking. They should be 10 centimeters from the top edge and 5 centimeters from the sides. So this might be a bit confusing, like why is this 9 centimeters from the sides? Will be the inside of the webbing. So 5 centimeters, 2 inches from each side, okay? And we will sew them on there as a rectangle, and the rectangle that we making is 6 centimeters tall. So I'll make a marking on my tape. 2¼ inches tall is the rectangle that I'm sewing, and I've also decided to make 2 X's, so that's your back. It's up to you. Do this however you like. And now the back is done and we can take care of the front. So the front, we need the webbing piece, the strap. We need the front pocket, main and lining, and the front piece itself. Now we will prepare our front pocket pieces, and first we will install our magnetic snaps to the flap and to the front pocket itself. So again, you can use the pattern piece to make a marking on the wrong side of the flap on the lining piece, not the main piece, the lining piece of the flap E, and on the main fabric from the D piece, the front pocket itself. The magnetic snaps will be installed to the main fabric. This is done exactly the same way as we did before. The female pieces go to the main fabric and the male pieces will go to the flap. And then we'll have to sew the darts exactly the same way as we did for our side pockets. So now we can make the slits again to open up the seam allowance later. And to make the front pocket, you will place the main and the lining pieces on top of each other and sew this together, but we will leave an opening on the bottom edge to turn the pocket right side out. So sew the edges with 1 centimeter seam allowance, 3/8 inch, but leave an opening in the bottom edge right here. Now you can trim the corners with some scissors. And this is not a must, depending also on the fabric that you use. If you have really bulky fabric, I suggest you to trim the curves with pinking shears, but it's not a must. It depends on your fabrics. Now you can turn the front pocket right side out, form out the corners, shape the corners, that's the correct way to say it. Fold the seam allowance from the opening inwards, give it a press and top stitch. So we can set this aside and we'll now make the flap the same way. So we place main and lining fabrics right sides together, but this time we'll leave an opening in the top edge, not the bottom edge, okay? Leave an opening at the top edge. Trim the seam allowance with pinking shears, especially if you have bulky fabrics or thicker fabrics. Turn the flap right side out, shape the corners and the curves, give it a press and fold the seam allowance inwards, and top stitch your flap, but not the top edge, only the curved edge, and set this aside. Looks good, but first we'll attach the strap exactly the same way as we've attached it to the back to the front piece. Having the pattern pieces right at your side when doing that is quite helpful because you have all the placements on there too. Now let's attach the front pocket to the front. So we'll make a marking 4 centimeters from the bottom edge, and again I use my masking tape. Of course you can draw on your fabric as well. And the marking for the front pocket is 22 centimeters wide and 17 centimeters tall. So make sure you've marked that on the front piece. It's 8 3/4 times 6 3/4 in inches. So this looks like a smiley face, right? So I've made my markings. I make sure that the top is straight, and now I will mark the center, the bottom center, to line it to the front on my front pocket. And you can take pins to attach it, but I will just take it like that to my sewing machine and stitch it on there. So I will align the top edge to the top marking first and then sew down the straight line. Don't forget to lock your stitch first. I've had some issues with my pedal for my sewing machine, that's why it's taking a bit. So lock your stitch, sew the straight part first and then stop before you get to the curve. Make sure the center is aligned. And then pinch the dart a bit together with your fingers and fold it towards you until you're on the dart, and then you can fold the dart to the away from you, let's say like that, and continue your stitching. Make sure the center is aligned and sew the straight line as far as possible before you get to the curve, and then check again if the top is aligned to your marking from the top. Again, pinch it together to make sure. This is quite bulky, it can be bulky where the dart is, so make sure you keep this folded out of the way, let's say like that, and then stitch up, and hopefully it's straight. It should be straight, okay? Lock your stitch and the front pocket is attached. So check, this will be folded quite a bit because it has some volume, and this is how it should be, okay? So fold it down that the top edge is straight. Remove your marking, masking tape in my case, and then align the flap to the top edge of the front pocket. So the width of the flap is the same as the top edge of your front pocket. So if your markings were correct, it has the same width. I push down the front pocket and secure the flap to my front piece, and then we will sew a slim rectangle again, one stitch up, like we did with the flaps from the side pockets, and within the same step our opening in the flap will be closed. So make sure the flap is aligned to the front pocket, sew it together, and then check if the magnetic snaps will close correctly. Perfect, because now will be the time to make changes. Okay, so the front piece is done now, but you need to mark the centers. It's even better to mark the centers before you attach the front pocket. Now we will assemble our main pieces. So take the side piece and push the darts down. Align it with the bottom piece with the short edges and sew this edge with 1 centimeter seam allowance, 3/8 inches. Fold the fabrics away from each other and top stitch on the bottom piece. Next, attach the other side piece to the bottom exactly the same way and top stitch it as well. So push the darts down, align the bottom edge from the side and the short edge from the bottom piece, sew them together, fold them away from each other and top stitch as well. Now you have to mark your centers. So I will make small snips, and it's also good to mark the top center. Now place these right sides together on the front piece. See, I did not mark my centers, Sarah. You should mark them before. Okay, center, center. Now place the bottom side piece, right sides together, and start by the bottom center, okay? And secure this with clips. And then you will start from the top towards the center. So align the top edges, the right side first. Make small snips. It's a tongue breaker, I'm sorry. For the curved part, it's easier to align it to the curve if you make some small snips into the bottom side piece. And then again, go from the top edge towards the center on the other side as well. And then sew the pieces together with 1 centimeter seam allowance. I strongly suggest to baste first, but that's up to you. I baste first and then sew with the correct seam allowance. Now we will attach the back exactly the same. So align the bottom center first and then go from the top edge towards the center with your clips. Make small snips. Why can I say the word snips today? Make small snips in the bottom piece where the curves are located and sew it together the same way. Now trim the seam allowance, especially on the curvy parts, the bottom curves, with some pinking shears on front and back. And basically your main pieces are assembled, and we can move on to the interior. Here you see the pieces that we will need for the interior. We have a zipper pocket, we have a slip pocket, we have our zipper panels for the main zipper, and we have a top and the main lining pieces. First, let's make the zipper pocket. You will need to draw a rectangle on the wrong side of the panel, which is 20 centimeters times 1 centimeter, 7 3/4, 3/8 inch. It's centered on the wrong side of your panel. And then you will place this right sides together onto the end piece, 5 centimeters centered from the top edge, 2 inches from the top edge, and sew along the rectangle that you've just drawn. See, there I've made my stitches here, And then I will cut the center line, but not all the way from edge to edge. We will have this end in a V-shaped cut as close into the corners as possible without cutting into the seams. But the closer you get to the corners, the easier it will be to form, to shape. Why I say form, to shape out the corners later when you turn it. So fold the panel through the hole that you've just made and shape the edges and corners and give it a press so everything stays in place. Now let's make the zipper pocket. So you need a zipper which is 24 centimeters, 9.5 inches, and you thread a pull onto the zipper tape. Take the lining piece right side up and the zipper being right side up as well, and sew this with a 7mm seam allowance, 1/4 inch. Attach the other lining piece in the same way. Then fold the fabrics away from the zipper. The zipper closes towards the left now. Place the gap on top. So the zipper pull is right side up, the zipper tape, and the lining fabrics from the back, they are wrong sides up. This is correct. Then fold the top piece down and trim off the extra fabric from the bottom edge. And now we will sew the two lining pieces from the zipper pocket together, but we'll leave an opening here in the bottom edge. So you fold it like that and sew this, but leave an opening on the bottom edge with 1 centimeter seam allowance, 3/8 inch. To make the slip pocket, you take the two pieces, place them right sides together and sew them together, but leave an opening at the bottom edge to turn the slip pocket. Use a 1 centimeter, 3/8 inch seam allowance and trim the top corners and the curves with some shears, pinking shears. Next, you will turn the piece right side out, shape the corners and the curves, fold the seam allowance of the opening inwards, and then top stitch the top edge and give it a press, of course, because it's quite wrinkly. So this is the slip pocket, and we will place it onto the end piece with the interior zipper pocket, 11 centimeters from the bottom edge, for 1/4 inches from the bottom edge, centered, and make sure the lining from the zipper pocket is not in the way. You don't want to sew through the lining from the pocket. So also stitch center line, because I didn't right here, and it's quite a big floppy pocket, so I would divide it. I really suggest to divide the pocket with some stitches. For the main zipper, take a 40 centimeter, 16 inch long zipper and fold the beginning of it 90 degrees to the side like that, and secure it with a pin, and then secure this fold with some stitches. So I like to keep my zipper closed and just open up the beginning of it to make this fold. And then you can remove the pins if you've secured this with stitches, and then separate the zipper tape. To prepare the O pieces, make a marking 1 centimeter from one side on all the pieces, the main and the lining pieces, and fold them wrong sides together like I show you right here. Do this with all 4 pieces and place them right next to each other, just to make sure they all have the same length after being folded. Now let's take a main fabric piece and place it right side up, and this is the edge without the fold, 1 centimeter, 3/8 inch from the side. You will align the zipper tape and stitch it on there, baste it on there, but don't let your stitches go over the fold too far into the zipper tape, so just that the zipper the stitches won't be visible. Then place the lining on top and sew this together like I show you right here. with 7mm seam allowance, 1/4 of an inch, and then trim the corner on the top and turn the zipper piece, the old pieces, right side out, and then top stitch and sew a rectangle to connect all the pieces, that they will stay in place, that they are aligned correctly. You need to shape this a bit because it will resist. And then I've sewn a rectangle like that to keep everything in place, and then I will mark the center, and the folds are connected like that in one step as well. So now you just repeat it to the other zipper half. Align it 1 centimeter from the side without the folds at the end. Baste it first. Place the lining piece right sides together on top and sew up here and then to the side with 7mm seam allowance. Trim the corner and turn this right side out, and then give it a top stitch and baste together the open edges as well. So you will sew a rectangle while you're top stitching, to do this all in one step. So now we have 2 pieces like this, and we will connect this to the end pieces. So take the one with the slip pocket and the zipper pocket. Make sure your zipper is closed towards the same direction. Align it centered by the top edge and baste it first. Then you will take the end piece, right sides together, aligned by the top edge, and sew this with 1 centimeter seam allowance, 3/8 inch. Fold the end piece up and top stitch. So repeat this to the other end piece. Baste the old pieces, the zipper tape, centered on the top edge first, and then attach the end piece, the top, with 1 centimeter seam allowance as well. Fold the end piece up afterwards and top stitch like this. Baste, sew with correct seam allowance, fold it up and top stitch. Now you have both end pieces ready, so place them right sides together and sew the side edges only, because we will sew the bottom and the box corners later. Make sure your zipper tape does not get caught in between your stitches. So we will just sew the side edges with 1 centimeter seam allowance, 3/8 inch. So we have 2 openings, one big one and one small one, and you turn your interior right side out, and now we can move on to the final assembly. So place your interior into your exterior and make sure zipper is on zipper so that the back piece from the main fabric is aligned to the interior zipper pocket. Make sure nothing gets in between the top edge, so the zipper tape should be out of the way, the handles should be out of the way, and then you align the top edges by the centers and secure the top edge with some clips first, and then you will sew the top edge with 1 centimeter seam allowance. Now the 2 pieces are connected. I've basted first and then sewed with 1 centimeter seam allowance. But now since you have a big opening on the bottom of the interior, it's more easy to turn your bag right side out. So take your time for that. If you have like stiff materials, you could also try to warm them up a bit with a blow dryer maybe, or you can place them on your in your apartment if you have, like, I don't know, the heater thing to make your apartment warm. So now we will pull the main the end pieces through our opening of the interior zipper pocket and align the bottom edge and sew this bottom edge with 1 centimeter seam allowance. It's quite easy to pull this through the big gap of the opening to the gap from the interior zipper pocket. And next we will align the boxed corners, the raw edges, place them right sides together and sew them with 1 centimeter seam allowance. And then your interior should be closed completely. So you can push this back inside your bag through the zipper pocket. And then you pull up the interior zipper pocket pieces. Why do you always say form? You fold the seam allowance inwards and then simply top stitch to close the opening, the last opening. Put it back inside and then put the whole interior right inside. So shape the edge, because where the top edge from the front and back is, so that the end piece will be inside your bag since it's a part of the interior. So I will take some clips to secure this edge, and then I will top stitch the top edge, and again making sure that your zipper tape does not get caught in the seams in the stitching. I made this like a lot quicker. So now it's time to top stitch. Done. Looks so pretty. Next, you will thread a zipper pull to your main zipper. So make sure that this is like straight and correct. And next you will install a zipper end. I like my zipper tape to be quite short. So since it's your project, you decide how long you like this zipper tail to be on top. I trimmed mine about 5 centimeters, which is like 2 inches. And then I will fold the tape, the zipper tape, on like behind my coil, like the spiral of the zipper. And you can use also some fray check or some glue if you like. I don't usually. Sometimes I do. Depends also on the zipper quality. And then I punch like a hole with this tool here. I don't know the name of this tool, but if you punch like a hole first, it will make it easier to have the screw go through the hole that you have already poked in the zipper. And then install the screw and you're done, right? No, we're not done. The strap, we have to make a strap, okay? Yes, and that's quick, okay? So take your long piece of webbing and first you will thread a slider onto one short end. You fold it over twice like that and stitch a rectangle to secure the end of the webbing to the long webbing piece. And then you will take a swivel clasp and thread the swivel clasp on the webbing piece and have the end go through your slider again above the webbing that's already on there. And then you take the second swivel clasp, thread it on the end and have the end fold over twice. But I believe since you're an advanced bag maker, of course you know how that works. You've probably done this like 100 times. And if you use a webbing like this, it's really quick and easy. So simply connect this with stitches as well. And now you're finally done. So this is not a joke, you're done. So you should applaud yourself and be proud of yourself because you did a great job. I hope you like this tutorial. I hope you come visit us on Sewcial Bagmakers on Patreon, and let's sew more pretty bags together, okay? So see you next time.